Well, let's lay it out for the audience exactly what the president, and you for that matter, are proposing to do as in a way of cutting drug prices for American consumers.
You bet. So yesterday, we actually here at HHS announced a study that showed that we, in one of the most important parts of Medicare, pay 180% more than Europeans or Japanese for the very same infusion or physician-administered drugs. And that's because the pharma companies are giving these great deals to other countries. But you know what we get? We get no discount. We pay the list price plus a 6% markup. The president came over here to HHS yesterday and he said that's going to change. We're now going to use a foreign reference price off of these industrialized countries. We're going to get the benefit of the discounts that they're getting.
So we'll peg it, as I understand it, for these selected drugs to actually what is being charged in Europe and Japan, I guess Canada as well. I mean, you used to run a big pharmaceutical company, and one of the things I know you're concerned about is innovation. One of the things we hear is if we really reduce prices that way, it will impair innovation. What do you say to that?
Well, the math just doesn't work to support the pharma talking points here on any harm to innovation. They are making so much money off of our Medicare Part B program right now. There's plenty of room for us to economize. This program alone will save $17 billion out of the Medicare program. That is $3.4 billion a year over those 5 years. So the average drug company invests 21% of revenue in R&D. That means that at most, this could impact $700 million of R&D spent across the entire industry when they spend $70 billion in R&D a year, so less than 1%. They're going to be able to turn around and negotiate better deals in Europe, Canada, and Japan. This shouldn't even be a rounding error for the pharma industry in terms of impact on R&D.
So I wonder how this fits with the overall approach of this administration. The president, as you as well, the president certainly has made no secret of the fact he's not happy with the high drug costs. A lot of people are not, in fairness. At the same time, those countries, many of them that you're talking about, have what we would call a socialized medicine. They've got the government really setting the prices on that. How does that fit with your overall approach?
Well, I think it's really important to remember what our starting point is here. Medicare Part B fee-for-service is a government-run, government-administered program right now. And that means we are setting a price. What we're setting is called average sales price plus 6%. So we're setting a price. We're just really stupid at setting a price. What we're saying is we're going to take advantage of deals that pharma companies themselves are negotiating with other industrialized countries and use that as a benchmark from which to derive savings. 30% savings over the program.
So I want to go back all this long time ago to 2005 when you were over in Dublin. You were the deputy, as I understand it, assistant secretary of HHS, and you gave a lecture sort of to the Europeans, and you said when people realize that other consumers are paying much lower prices, they often put pressure on politicians to do something. And sometimes politicians are tempted to give them what they want. The more governments do this, the more innovation is put at risk. Are you sort of throwing in the towel, sir? Are you basically saying, you know what, we tried to go the competition route, it's just not going to work, we just got to set the prices?
Not at all. In fact, we are fully supportive of market-based competition where it exists in our program and where we can further enhance it. So the president brought for the first time ever to the private sector Medicare Advantage program the ability for the insurance plans to negotiate against pharma. We brought that negotiation to the table. Part D, which is the retail drug program, that works. That's actually delivering discounts at or better than what Europe is getting, and we're very soon going to be putting out rules that give these insurance companies even more power against pharma to negotiate better discounts there. It's just this part of the program, Part B, physician-administered drugs in fee-for-service, there's no competitive market mechanism that we can find that works in that. We're fixing a price now. It's a really bad one. We're looking to what pharma is negotiating in the marketplace around the world and saying, give us the benefit of that 30% savings. We'll still keep it 126% above the average of those countries. So they really ought not be complaining here.
So, Mr. Secretary, let me ask you how it fits with another part of your approach and President Trump's approach. We want to move, as I understand it, toward fee for results rather than fee for services across all of healthcare. How does this fit with this? Because this is not really tying the amount that pharmaceutical companies get paid by what they actually deliver in terms of health results to patients.
Right. This is not about that kind of value-based payment. This is really about correcting an abuse that's happening and has been happening for decades in our system, and so we're tackling that abuse. Longer term, we are going to enable pharmaceutical companies and insurance plans to negotiate these outcome-based contracts. But more importantly, longer term, what we need to do is enhance the payment for value, and that's where we pay for outcomes overall. We will eventually have to stop treating drugs as if there's something independently to be paid for, but rather part of an outcome that's being managed. And if a drug is the best way to get there, then the patient, the doctor, the navigator through the system will make that decision and make that choice. But we ought to be, frankly, indifferent from a payer perspective to how that outcome is delivered and stop micromanaging the inputs.
So let me ask you one of the things that we hear from pharmaceutical companies. I'll be specific. Johnson & Johnson has said this to me on the air, that the biggest problem with drug prices really right now are the intermediaries, the so-called PBMs, that in fact there are rebates that basically are not making their way into consumers' pockets. Do you agree with that? Because as I understand it, this proposal actually would inject those people into the Part B.
Well, listen, I think it's a little hard to go pointing fingers at any one player in this drug system. The drug companies are setting their prices, okay? They should not be absolved from responsibility for setting their prices. The PBMs, these pharmacy benefit managers, negotiate discounts. Everyone's operating according to the rules of the road that we have. The problem is the system we have right now incentivizes higher and higher list prices and higher rebates because everyone's getting paid a % of list price and making money as they go. I have said repeatedly and publicly, we need to re-examine this system of backdoor rebates being paid to middlemen and that patients are not always getting the full benefit of. I think we should have a national discussion about moving forward with a system where patients get the benefit of the pharma discounts when they go to the pharmacy to buy their drugs, not just with rebates going to PBMs.
So finally, Mr. Secretary, as I said, we've heard from President Trump repeatedly about his objection to the high prices of drugs. Is this the plan, or should we be expecting more, addressing other drugs in other ways?
So, you know, we've already rolled out dozens of actions to get at drug pricing. There is no single silver bullet. We are taking a methodical and very focused approach. Each part of the system has a problem. We are today solving one part of that problem. We will, as I said, be coming out with rules on Part D that make it even more efficient. We worked on Medicare Advantage already. We've enhanced historic levels of generic drug approval. We solved the issue of pharmacists being able to tell their patients about lower cost alternatives. So there is much more action still coming, but we're already having an impact. We're changing this entire system for the benefit of patients.